Okay, now we're going to look at some more of HTML. We've already kind of built our first web page. We've displayed it, so we understand about text and line breaks and paragraphs and how to change some formatting. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to enhance the web page itself by putting in some images, understanding some links, and understanding what an anchor is. So it wouldn't really be useful if we didn't have some pictures on them. I mean, they would be pretty boring. Putting on an image is actually very, very simple. One of the things that we have to do is we have to upload an image, and you'll see this on the example. We'll upload an image of Lincoln in this case. And that image basically resides on a file. And in any type of application like your Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, if you've ever looked to put in an image into your PowerPoint presentation, you'd have to find that file on the system. Well, you're going to have to do the same thing with this. You'll have to know what directory you put it in. If you're using the host that we've talked about, everything starts at the root directory, which is a slash. That would be equivalent to your public HTML directory. If you create directory structures under that, then you would actually use that directory structure by saying slash whatever the directory name is, another slash, and then continue. We're going to assume that's not the case for now. We'll deal with a little bit more than that later. So let's assume that we have an image on our server in the same directory as the HTML code that we're building here to the right. So you see we have our code HTML, and we have the body tag, we have our paragraph, and now we have this thing called IMG. We have an image tag. And what this does is this says in this location, so after this paragraph, we want an image placed here. And the source of that image, or the file, is actually called lincoln.jpg. And here you see we close the body and then close HTML. Image files are normally JPG files or GIF files or PNG files. We will talk more about these, but JPEGs are usually for pictures, GIFs are clip art, and PNGs are also kind of like clip art and some pictures. And usually the preferred format is going to be PNGs unless we're dealing with certain pictures. It has to do with compression and the way the image is created. We'll deal with that when we deal with the GIMP software. So we can also add some attributes to the image. So if we have image, the source, and then the file name, again in double quotes, we can set a width and a height. And this is in pixels. Pixels are the little dots that make up the image. These are little dots that you can get really close to a screen, you might be able to see it, although it's a little harder on these screens. But here what we're going to do is we're going to take that same image, lincoln.jpg, and we're going to establish width as being 50 pixels and height as being 50 pixels. So if the image was bigger than this, it would reduce it to this size. If in the second one it was smaller, lincoln2.gif, we might increase it. If it was like 25, we would increase it. However, you'll see some distortion occur. It's easier, better to actually go from a larger size to a smaller size. It is much worse to actually take an image that's small and try and increase it, because it has to figure out where the pixels lie, and that's a little bit of a problem. And you can test this out on your own, and I can help you do that as well. So another attribute that we want to look at is border. It'd be nice if we could place a little border around our image, okay? And you'll see this in the example as well. Here we do the same exact sample. We have our source file as lincoln2.gif, but you'll notice that we put a border equals 2 at this size. That means put a 2 pixel wide border around the whole thing. And we can actually make it 3, 4, or 5, and we can also change the color a little bit later on. So adding the border just gives it a nice little dimension. Now, sometimes we actually want to take our page and link to another page, preferably on another website or another site or another page within our own site. And we're going to do this using a tag called the A tag, which is really an anchor. The A tags basically should have an attribute, and you'll see this down here where he says href, href equals cnn.com. What this will do is this will wrap this text here, jump to news, and when the mouse is moved over it, when the user moves the mouse over that text, it will basically highlight and say if you click here, it will jump you to the CNN website or whatever is referenced by the thing here in quotes. And this href stands for a hypertext reference, basically another web page. So let's see what this looks like, and we'll try it. So here, again, I've got the same HTML code. I've got my paragraph here. And what we did is we basically just appended that code of the href here right in our web page. When you put this code up on the server, you'd actually see the jump to news, which will have an underline on it if you run it through the browser. And if you click on it, it will actually jump the browser to CNN. Notice that you definitely need the /A, and we have the A tag here with the href with where it's going within quotes, and we need the /A because this tells it where this whole thing becomes the link that we're going to jump to. Okay, so now what we're going to look at is the anchor for an internal page. We can actually create a link within our HTML code that will actually jump the cursor, say either to the bottom or at the top. You may have seen some web pages that have a little link at the bottom that says back to top. Well, all they're really doing is they're using this A tag once again, and basically they're pointing the href to an anchor name. So the way we create an anchor name within a page is we'll just use the A tag once again with the attribute name equals, and then it could be anything we want. In this case, I've used bottom. It could be top, it could be part 1, or anything we want. You'll notice on the right over here that here's my A name equals jump here. Okay, this is where my tag is placed. This is going to be a section here that when the cursor jumps, it will jump to one of these points. But then what we do is we'll create another tag somewhere else, which is the link that we want. When the user clicks on that link, it jumps to whatever the reference is. And the way we do that is we'll do our A tag again with the href, and we must include this pound symbol, the hashtag, or shift 3. And the reason we do that is because that tells it that we're going to go to the current page and look for a reference or an anchor point called bottom. Now in this case, I've done it with this tag called jump here. So this creates a link called click to jump, and it's bound by this A tag and /A tag, and it will jump to an anchor point within the page called jump here. And what it does is it looks down for another A reference where the name is called jump here, which is right at this point, and the cursor would actually shift and bring it down there, so the stuff at the bottom would move up to the top of the browser. And we could do the reverse by putting in a tag called A name top and putting that at the top of this HTML code, and then putting in this link that would say return to top or jump to the top by doing an A href with a pound symbol and then whatever we called it, possibly top. So we're going to take a look at an exercise. Use the same thing that you did in 2.1 and create a new file called starting with links or whatever you like, .html. In this file, what we're going to do is we're going to create a primary heading with Gettysburg Address as the top line, so that will be an H1. Create a subheading with your name on it. We're going to copy Gettysburg Address from some internet page and copy it to your HTML page as just a paragraph. So we'll take the whole thing so we've got the full page. Then what we're going to do is we're going to include an image of Abraham Lincoln or a picture of the Gettysburg Address or any other image that you want. So on the exercise, I'm going to show you how we upload an image to our server, and then you'll use the image tag within your browser, within the HTML Aptana, so to actually reference that image. Then at the bottom, I'd also like you to create a link to your student page that you created in exercise 2.1. So you're going to use the href to the student.html. And then also at the bottom, I want you to create an anchor that will jump the cursor back to the top of the page when clicked. All right, so there's a sample video of how to do some of this, and we'll see you in Module 3.